Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsy69 and welcome back to another top 5. We do have a couple of top 5s, or quite a few top 5s this week. It's been a while since, I've dropped doing top 5s. I don't do them as often, so I just thought, you know what, I'm going to get a few done. I've got a few in mind. While they are in mind, I am going to get them done. So the first top 5 today, we have my top 5 favorite maps and why. And coming in at number 5, it is Canal. Now, this is a great map. All these maps, there is reasons why I love the map, and most of that is because it's the map. They're not maps for just one type of tank. They are maps for all different types. Now, Canal is no exception. It is a medium map, it's a heavy map, and of course it is a TD map. These are the positions, I'm getting in now, where you can get into in medium tanks, especially if you've got a turret. You do have to be careful from TDs, of course, when you're in these kind of positions. But of course, there is a lot of positions, and I mean a lot of positions for TDs. And I love playing TDs, such as the grill. And these are the kind of positions that are my favorite positions in this map. You can sit at the back. You can see almost the whole map in these kind of positions, which is what we're going to see. Now, this personally, for this side of the map, this is my favorite position, and that is up here, not in this bush, but the next bush along. But there's so many, and you can just see so much of the map, and you can drop down. You can easily drop down if you get spotted. But again, it all depends what your team does. Now, if your team goes right here up the top there, then this position can be very, very dangerous, especially if the enemy tanks come from the left. You can find yourself getting caught out. Now, this position here, when you start in the spawn, if you reverse all the way back up to the red line, you can actually get up this hill. That red line there, you can actually get up this hill from there. So that is actually personally my favorite TD position. Depending what tank. Obviously, tanks like E3s, I don't play tanks like E3s, E4s so much as TDs. Now, from the other side of the map, again, this is personally my favorite position, and even if your team does go right, you can spot a lot of tanks coming from either the left. You can spot them quite early, and if you do spot them quite early, you can drop down. And also, if your team does go right, you have a lot of map to cover. There's a lot of cover there that you can shoot, and if they do go all to the right side and you're in this kind of position, then you're never going to get spotted. As long as your team open up the enemy tanks, you're never going to get spotted. So of course, you have the bulk standard positions, which is up this hill here. Now, I personally, you do get a lot of people go to that bush in front, but I honestly, when I am in a medium tank or a heavy tank or even a TD, I always blind shot that bush, because if there is a couple of TDs, you can almost guarantee that a TD will be in this position. Or just like I have seen me, again, I never ever get into this position here in a TD. In fact, I actually see medium tanks and heavy tanks in this position more than I do TDs, but it's still a good position. Again, especially if your team goes right, it's a good position. You might get spotted, but again, if your team goes left, you've still got a lot of ground to cover. There's a lot of cover there, and of course, up the top by A, you do have that position as well. So Dead Rail is my number 4. I absolutely love this map, and again, it is good for heavy tanks, TDs, medium tanks. Mainly it is good for tanks with gun depression and tanks with a turret, because this is my favorite position on the map, just coming up here straight away into the bush, and you will hopefully spot some TDs getting into their TD position, or you will spot some heavy tanks that is either coming up on this little ridge or going down between A. But of course, you do have to be careful in this position, because if your medium tanks doesn't push the right side and they have an enemy medium in the right side, then they can get shots off in you, and it's very annoying, especially when they are not spotted. But again, you can also see them, but they have to be spotted. So you need your team to go to split up and spot their tanks as well. Now, the E5 is absolutely perfect for this. The Chieftain, the Super Conqueror, anything with a turret and gun depression, these kind of positions is fantastic. But you don't want to be getting into these positions in tanks like the E100 because it hasn't got the best of gun depressions. And it has the big cheeks that can easily be penned. So there is only certain tanks that I would get into this position. Tanks like the Leopard 1, maybe not so much because it hasn't got the turret. But tanks like the T62A, anything like that, is a great position. Next up is Normandy. And again, this map it has the variety, and this is one of the only maps in the game. I actually did a how to Normandy video, and this is one of the only maps in the game that you start the game and it doesn't really matter where you go. You could go left, you could go right, and it's one of those that some maps you look at the enemy lineup or you look at your lineup and you automatically know where the battle is going to take place. This map, you don't. It could take place here. Usually tanks with gun depression and a turret does come into these positions. Usually tanks like the Sheridan, the missiles, does again come to this windmill. They come into these positions because they can just hide behind the ridge and chuck missiles over. But again, it's just as good to the right side. You have in the middle here, you can go hold down, you can spot tanks either left or right. So it is one of the only maps where you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know. The only thing with this is there isn't so many this map, sorry, there isn't so many positions for TDs. Probably one or two, I'd say two, and that's one position to the left on each side and one position to the right on each side. And of course there where I'm shooting now is the position on the left side, and then it's pretty much equal back at the green spawn, and of course to the right is you have a position as well. So this beach, the beach is actually, I mean, I'd love to see the heat map of this map, because the beach is very, I mean, no one goes to the beach, come on, no one goes to the beach. I only ever use the beach for one reason and one reason alone. That's not to flank, that is, I mean, that's not to just to get to enemy spawn, and I only use it for one reason, and that is when I'm in this kind of position. You hold down, you're shooting the reds, and if they decide to push, then you can just back up down the hill or down to the beach, and you can hopefully get away. So that is the only reason I use the beach, is to do stuff like this. If they're chasing you, if they're getting down and they are well, they're chasing you, then you could just back up and keep reversing, and then when you get around this corner you can go back on top. So next up is Castelia. Again, a perfect map for all different kind of tanks, and this is also one of the most annoying maps, because if you've got a team full of heavies and you're in a heavy and you've only got like one medium, and your medium or light tank doesn't come this way, if there is a tank up here, then it's frustrating. It's so frustrating when you're trying to push the hill to the left side and you are getting shot from this hill here, and it's so annoying because you're never going to get spotted. You're never going to get spotted, but it's lovely when you do it, when you get into the position and their medium tank decides to not push. It is a great position. And when you've got no positions, of course, there is so many places that you can hide, there's so many places that you can go around. These kind of positions here on the other side of the map, when you start, if you get into that position, you can spot the TDs. Of course, up this hill you do have to be careful of the TDs that are camping in spawn, and again, it's a great map for TDs. There are a few positions on each side for TDs. You got the hill at the start where I pretty much was where I was showing. You've got up here as well, which is frustrating, especially if you're in a low to the ground tank like the T62. You can get into this position and people try and get up this hill. I've seen it so many times where people can't get up there. There's one tank left, a 5 against 1. That one is sitting here. And they're just unable to get up because he either tracks them or he just sits in the way so they can't get up. So I only ever go to this position to troll, really. I don't sit in there. Maybe if I'm going by into their spawn like I'm going to do now, maybe I'll get into that position just to see if we can spot any tanks. You can spot some tanks up the hill there. This is where the TD position is, or on this side of the map, so just be careful of that when you are going up the hill, either side of the map that is. And of course you do have the heavy hill. You've got this position to my left here. That's a great position for TDs as well. Again, you have to be careful not to get spotted. Now, this is the hill that I'm talking about. If you're in a heavy, this is what I always call the heavy hill. If you're in a heavy and you're spotting the team and you're in this kind of position, tanks up by that the hill to the left will be able to shoot you. And as I was showing you earlier, it can be very, very frustrating. And then where I'm pointing at there is another position for TDs, and that's actually a great position even if medium tanks goes to the castle, because you can get shots off and you won't get spotted. But I also like to do the unthinkable, what people don't expect, and maybe that is in a medium tank, instead of going to the right if no one's there, and then come straight into this position, you will spot the tanks, the heavy tanks coming from the left there, and you will keep them spotted. This is a fantastic position. I've seen people do a lot of damage in this position because they can't chase you, because hopefully you'll only get into this position if you have backup from your team to the left. If they're all to the right, then this position isn't really good. But again, you can shoot all different kind of angles, and that is why I absolutely love this map. It's not my favorite, but it kind of is, and you'll understand when you see the next map, which is actually my all-time favorite map, and that is Lost Temple. Now, I was really, really sad when Wargaming removed this for tier 8, tier 9 and tier 10. I was absolutely devastated. I don't know why they done it. I think they actually done it because this position here is a little bit overpowered, especially if you can get into a tank with a turret. If you can get into this position with a turret, then it is just an absolute beast. I always get into this position, no matter what tank. I always try and get into this position, but of course everyone used to do the same. So if you do see one of your team get into this position, don't go with him. I mean, there's no point. You're just going to get in each other's way. You're going to get spotted. Both of you are going to get spotted. So if there is another tank in that position, I kind of like to come into this position, and this is in the town. Of course, not every game is going to be taking place in the town. Again, it depends how many heavies you got, how many TDs. The only bad thing about this map is it isn't great for TDs. There's not too many positions for TDs, but this position here I absolutely love because you can spot tanks going up to the middle there, and you can get some damage across. You can protect the base, and again you can get some shots off to the left side as well as the right. So I do like coming behind this building here, getting those shots off, getting those sneaky shots off, and the enemy not expecting it. And then of course you'd only push to around when you know you can. So we're just going to quickly drop down and have a look at the medium position, which again, if you've got more mediums than heavy tanks, then this is the way that you would usually go. But I still don't know the whole story behind it. I still don't know why the main reason Wargaming removed this map. I mean, there is other maps that they could have removed over this that are just shit for tier 8, 9, 10 tanks, but I thought this map was actually balanced. I mean, I thought it was balanced. Yeah, it was annoying when you get a tank into the middle to the right side, but I mean, it's equal. It's equal. The enemy can also do the same. And if you get into these kind of positions, then you can also get shots off on the enemy whilst they are in that middle. So plenty of ridges for medium tanks. Again, as tanks with turrets, plenty of positions for them around this side as well. So let me know your top 5 maps in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed it, guys. I'm meadsy69, and I will catch you all very, very soon. Don't forget to like my Instagram. Go follow me at meadsy69 as well. Let's get me to 1,000 followers. See you all.